I'm going to type in a little message and I will be more focused on talking and connecting. Hold on. So, welcome to another edition of Coming Into Being, our weekly event here. I can only do this once I get on, so I just have to do this right at the beginning. So I can just have a little message out there welcoming people. Okay, so coming into being. You know, this piece for me is, you know, the reason I do this, that I started doing this on a weekly basis, is to provide that space for people to just get into the experience of being. So that takes us into a lot of different directions. But all ending, you know, the main focus with these are always about coming back to this connection to ourselves at whatever level that's happening and however that's happening. So some of us take a lot of time doing this, and a lot of us don't. You know, we just have busy lives. And so providing the space for you to come in to experience that. And maybe you're a pro at this, maybe you've been doing this for a while, but it's always nice to just come into that space. And maybe you're new to this, in which case it's just nice to have that support with a group, from a group, in coming together and having somebody kind of hold that space for you so that you can just go into that. So welcome, and I'm glad to have you here. Let's just take a minute to, you know, come into yourself, and you can start by just focusing on your breath. You know, notice your breath coming in and out. Whether you have your eyes open or your eyes closed, doesn't matter. Just let yourself kind of, if your eyes are open, just don't have a fixed stare at anything, but just come into a soft, you know, relaxed gaze where you start kind of being aware of not just what's in front of you, but what's all around you. And just allowing yourself to breathe. Come into that awareness of the breath, in other words. And allowing yourself to breathe. I mean, it's just like, it seems like a kind of a weird thing to say, but if you have anxiety, you have a lot of stress, if a lot of fear is in your system, then your breath is going to tend to be very shallow and be just very up here. So allowing yourself to breathe, getting into the breath and going in a little bit more deeply with the breath. And you know, just do the best you can if you're one of those people who have those stress, and that tension that just keeps you from having a full breath. Maybe what you can do as we focus in on the breath is just come into lower, you know, pay attention as with your eyes closed, your eyes open, without looking down if your eyes are open, just with your awareness, bringing your awareness down to the lower ribs, you know, and feeling that movement as you breathe. And allowing yourself, and that does a lot for opening up the breath, even if it's just a little bit more, that's good. And just allowing that to relax a little bit more deeply. And hey, Laria, welcome. And just starting with the breath here. And if you're stopping by, feel free to put a little hello in the box there. If you are inclined to just make yourself be known. And if you're just watching, that's fine too. Yeah, so notice, yeah, with your awareness on the bottom of the ribs, just bring that awareness a little bit lower and see how that helps the breath just kind of relax a little bit more. Hey, Kayla, good to see you. So let's let ourselves get into a nice really deep space of just being. This is actually one of the first spaces that we really come into as humans. I mean, when we come into human form, is in that space where we just are and we're unfolding. And there's really not much more that we do or that we need to do. It just kind of happens on its own. So let's go in deep with this one and just kind of be with your breath. And that's already starting to stir up stuff for people. You know, that being, so basically taking us to being in the womb at the level of the human spirit, the spirit coming into the human form here. Not always the easy being place that it should be, just being held and being nurtured. A lot of stress already coming into people at that point, depending on where the parents were, the mother especially, but the father also. Was this a wanted pregnancy? Was this pregnancy decided to be had because of external circumstances? And so hoping that this pregnancy would help to create better situation for the family or the parents or the mother or whatever. A lot of heaviness coming through with people, was this pregnancy, this pregnancy come about, well, could be termed rape or forced sexual intimacy. Oh, we're going to get into some deep things here, but just allow whatever comes up, because there's a lot of issues that start to come in for people at this time, way at the beginning, the time they're conceived, even when they were just going to stick with this lifetime here. And just allow yourself to be present with whatever comes up. So we're not going to go into the details so much here, but just coming into allowing yourself to be held in this deeper space. And when we come into a purer state, pure space, and pure meaning that it's coming into a state where there's not all these conditions of human life that come in. It can be frightening, it can be scary, it can make us feel nervous. Because when we are in these deeper, pure spaces, it's sort of like there's no running and hiding from ourselves, from what is inside of us. So that's fine. We just kind of breathe into wherever you're at. And actually, some of you are being the holding space, and you are still carrying someone within you. Even if you're not pregnant, this feels like more like not being pregnant, but holding somebody else in that space. Like another sibling, um, a child that was wanted but never got conceived. And that could actually be your wanting as well as somebody else's wanting in your circle. So if you're, that could have been like your husband's wanting or your someone else in the family, like the mother wanting a child. So also for those of you who had abortions, boy, we're getting into some deep stuff here today, but that's good. Abortions. And there wasn't a proper letting go that happened, releasing on either the mother or the child. That's still in that space within you. So all of that, just allowing all of that to come up, whatever holds true for you. There's quite a bit coming up today. This is an interesting session here. And allowing yourself to just stay with your breath, stay with your experience. Just notice whatever comes up for you. Oh, yeah. Also, wanting to be pregnant, but not having been able to become pregnant. And this isn't necessarily just uh, ending up with no children. This is also a situation where, for some, of having had children, but then wanting another one and not being able to have that child. And so holding that in your space. Because of the identity it created for you. So all of the pieces that I brought up. Yeah, and interestingly, we think that this is just for women, but this is also, there's some men that this pertains to. I think one piece that's coming up here for men is having the aspect of being masculine, being really hard, and wanting to be a woman, to kind of escape that hardness. So that's all. Well, I'll bring it into this space. there's lineage that's being cleared out for people. So this is also just at a personal experience, but it's also what someone in your lineage experienced, because that gets transmitted, uh, at the physical level just through the chemistry, uh, and that starts to impact the genetic material that gets passed on from generation to generation. So there's some of that is clearing out for individuals as well. Yeah, good release. Very nice. Good work, everybody. And keep just having your awareness on your breath and with whatever presents itself for you. Kind of coming into a calmer space here. So yeah, pretty deep little clearing here in just a few minutes. You might be feeling yourself a little bit, kind of a feeling of being in limbo. Like in limbo, meaning between two things, not really having landed, and kind of like a transition space. So that's fine. Just notice that. And just breathe into that. That's fine. Yeah. Letting go of a lot of mental level beliefs and patterning, judgments. Attitudes, misconceptions. Letting yourself come to a deeper space and deeper resting space here. Still staying with your breath, with your awareness on your ribs or your lower abdomen is fine too. And yeah, just with this little bit, just coming into kind of that deeper, pure state of being, coming into being at a deeper place, deeper level. So very good. Being able to relax just a little bit more. Yeah, very nice. Relax a little bit more into your being, into who you are, without getting into, well, I'm this, I'm that. Just your presence, being just in this moment. And if your eyes are closed, just open your eyes and just allow yourself to stay in this space a little bit longer of just being in this presence with yourself. It's kind of a nice kind of gentle space. So let yourself just relax into that, relax into this and enjoy it. And if you're noticing more coming up for you, just be present, just keep with the breath. Just kind of notice that it's there. It's not you, but it's there. You know, and sometimes telling yourself that, oh, that's just what I'm noticing, just to help kind of separate it out. So, yeah, very good. And if there's a little sadness that's coming up, you know, part of what makes it challenging to just come into ourselves is because it makes us more conscious about what we are lacking in just everyday life. You know, and we all have this innate sense of what life is supposed to be like and that we didn't experience. So that sadness, and it can go into deep grief, it can even go into depression, because it really becomes clear of what we don't have, what's not there, what's missing, what's been missing. So really allow yourself to just take this in, because as you take this in, as you really allow yourself to just be present and be in this space, it reinforces it in your system. Your system recognizes it and starts to move more into that direction with greater ease. Yeah, very nice. So again, it doesn't take much time necessarily. Sometimes we do have these longer clearings on this. This is a pretty good one and feels like this is a good space for us right here. If you have any questions around what we have worked with right now, feel free to post a question and we'll see where that takes us. And if you don't, that's fine too, but everybody's in a good space, a quiet space. The supposed to in life is really hard. And that's actually the first thing that hit me when I was born, was the stress of supposed to be a certain way. You're supposed to be this. You're supposed to do that. And that really gets us very twisted around and very, it doesn't seem like a lot. Well, I'm supposed to be doing this. Already kind of puts a little edge in there, especially if we're inclined to be doing something else. It's like, yeah, but I'm supposed to be doing this. Little tension, the stress, so it might not seem like a lot, but over time it just builds up and keeps growing on us. Okay, so if there's no questions, then we'll just kind of call it a day today. We'll be back next week, every week right now, until I'm advised otherwise um, by source advice. These are weekly, so if you would like to know more about other things that I do, if you'd like to know more about sessions, you can go to my website, unboundandfree.com, which is not up here. The caption got switched out on me. Let me put this up now that I'm talking about it. Here's my website, so you can go to my website. And we also do Pure Life Infusion series, which is once a week. We kind of have a focus, but there's times where it's really about getting those pure life infusions. Similar to this, just more focused and in a group setting where we go into more depth. So there's also that. It's kind of calling it a masterclass because we do get into Q&A and into specifics about what people need to focus on or to do, kind of thing. So that's all on my website. This has been wonderful and very deep. Yeah, it was kind of interesting, wasn't it? I just had a conversation with my dad about the death of my brother, and this session was very relevant. Yeah, I had a feeling that was you. Marianne, how long have you been working with Moss? I'm losing count, but I think it's about 7 years now, Susie. Yeah. And I've worked with other people before Moss too, because I've been actually doing this work for over 20 years. So there were different people before Moss that I worked with and studied with. And Ilaria, thank you so much. Yeah, thank you, Ilaria. Thank you. Thank you for you're welcome, and thank you for coming here. So yeah, very good. And any yeah. So to Kayla's comment, yeah, that was yeah, that was something that came up. I know a little bit about your story, so that was great sessions and peaceful. Yeah, I'm an ex-Sci student. I feel like a failure. Okay, let's take a deep breath into this, Susie. Let's hang out with Susie for a minute. Yeah, I'm glad you showed up here today. Just breathe into that. Wow. Yeah. So feel into your breath. That's a big piece in your heart there, but just focus on the breath. We won't go, seems like a little too much for you to focus on with the breath that's going. There's a lot there for you in the heart. So But just the breath, feel the lungs, feel the ribs, feel the bottom, be aware of the bottom of the ribs. Wow. A lot of feeling unloved in your family for you. Maybe even unaccepted as a child, or even as a baby, even, we're bringing up this in the womb thing here. Yeah. So some of the stuff goes really, really deep. Yes, and yes, yes. Yeah. It's just let's just be present with this. Let's kind of work with this a little bit. Just be present with this. And just allow yourself to be held as best as you can, because here's the catch. This is like, that this is supposed to be a space where you get held. So we're kind of going into this womb space again here, like we were earlier, and being held, and even if we're just doing like being in the earth, it's about being in that womb space and being held. So we know that it's supposed to be nurturing and supportive and inviting, but if you were in there to begin with and somebody didn't want you, you felt that. You felt that. What I'll call your system. So your system is everything that you are. Everything that makes you, that registered. So there's this tension. You know what it's supposed to be like, and then you have the real experience. The thing is, what happens is that the real experience, there's a part of us that starts to assume, like, well, this is what love is, for example, and this is what nurturing is. This is what being supported is here, the experience that we have. So, being rejected, well, that's what it means to be supported. And yet you do know at a very deep level the truth of what it really is supposed to be. So let's just sit with this with me. Yeah, because there's this tension that gets created. We there's two levels of tension here. There's this tension of, it's like, okay, yeah, rejection is what it is to be nurtured. To be nurtured, to be loved, to be held means rejection. So I think where you've been with that, what your experience in life has been around that piece. And then there's another tension because somewhere in your system knows what the pure nurturing, pure being held, pure love is supposed to be like. And here you have this. So breathe into that. Let's oh yeah, just kind of sit with that. And here's another, the brilliance of your being, Susie, is really that you made it this far. There's no way you could be a failure. It's impossible to be a failure because you're here. You show up. You showed up for yourself. You showed up on the chat. One more step of showing up for yourself. So, kudos to you. How can you be a failure when you're showing up for yourself? Right there. How can you be a failure when your essence is that purity of existence, all completely and fully at the core of your being. You are that brilliance of source, of pure source, because there's nothing else. So sometimes it's hard to believe that for ourselves, to have a sense of that. And I'm just here to tell you, to remind you, because the other stuff is just a little bit more out there. You're feeling it more, you know. Yeah, and Ilari says, Susie, you are infinite, pure, unlimited consciousness. Yeah, you're timeless and timeless. You're timeless also. And if you think of that, it's just timeless. You think of those pieces that are timeless pieces. That description that they use, which is just that. This is your birthright. Yeah, absolutely. Source gave me you. You gave yourself also. Yeah. And then Kayla's saying, I love myself no matter what. Yeah, that's a nice one. And so just remind yourself, yeah. So I like what you said there. Source gave me you. Your spirit brought you here. So if you want, your spirit gave me you. Gave you this moment to show up for yourself. And another way that you're not a failure is like, yeah, you can have that throne right in front of you and not pick it up. But you did. So there you go. Good for you, Susie. Yeah. So there's still stuff there for you, Susie. But it does feel a little bit lighter, so that's good. Sometimes it's really helpful to, just have somebody hear it from somebody else, and also coming back to, and then hearing it from you to you also is good. So I'm glad you showed up. Thanks. I'm glad you showed up today. So that's good. And if I can be of help for you anymore, then check out my website, see if that feels right for you. But also, just showing up next Wednesday is good. Every Wednesday we do this. So I'm glad you showed up today. Yeah, it's timeless. Yeah, it's like when you say that word timeless, when it came out, it's like, you see that in those watches for those really elegant, I'm saying those watches, those ads for really elegant watches or really elegant, expensive things, timeless. They use that word, don't they? Hey, there's that luxury of your spirit, timeless. Yeah. So that's true for all of us, So thank you, Susie, for showing up and bringing that just that reminder to us um, that brilliance that we have, So it's always good to have that be brought back to our awareness, even if we're kind of feeling it, but then somebody shows that they're not feeling it so much. And then we all get into that place of, yeah, we really are that brilliance. Yeah, kudos to all of us for our resilience and wherewithal to not give up. Absolutely. Yeah. Keep pushing. And yeah, things get a little edgy sometime, Yeah, stay focused and vigilant. And yeah, I mean, there's been a lot. Was it last week? Yeah, I really felt that shift in the matrix where it just feels like there was. Yeah, I'll get to that. But Susie, that there was a pretty strong shift in the matrix last Friday, I think it was, or last week, and just all this old crumbling. And when that happens, that there's also um, that stirs up a lot of stuff. I get it, Susie. Me too. Um, yes, Laura. Thank you, Marianne, too. Yeah, so I feel very alone in my life. Yeah, join the club. Join the club. It's as we advance on this path of awakening, um, it it narrows down what we can connect to because we really connect more deeply with people and need a deeper connection, deeper understanding. So um, a lot of us feel that aloneness, but let's switch that around. Uh, Kudos to Marianne for offering it. Yeah, thank you. But we're not alone. We have our spirit in this beautiful, bountiful community. Yeah. Um, and let's look at alone in a different light. Um, so feel that aloneness for a minute. So just notice. So there's a little bit of that distortion. So just breathing into that aloneness. So in a sense, we are always alone because we are always ourselves and unique, and we all have our own path every step of the way. As you feel that aloneness, feel that strength that's there. And I think a lot of times the word aloneness gets made bad, because we're supposed to. There we go. That's supposed to. I mentioned earlier, we're supposed to be this way. We're supposed to be that way. We're supposed to be connecting to people. We're supposed to be nice. We're supposed to be, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, relative to being with others. So alone is fine. Breathe into that aloneness and feel that strength. And even with a lot of people around us, there's still that aloneness, because as much as you share with other people, yourself, however deep you go and open into that, you're still the only one who's connected with yours. You're cute, Ilaria. Thank you, Marianne, and please. Yeah. So if we really look at that, we will always be alone, because nobody can be with us except us. So yeah. Sometimes we want to have other people we can share ourselves with, so we have to look at that. But allowing yourself to just kind of be present and be connected, I guess it's just fear in my being. Well, I'm just kind of tuning into what I'm feeling here. The more you connect, it's sort of like it's an indication that you need to connect with yourself more. So just take that time to literally sit with yourself, kind of focus on your breath, come into just being aware of yourself. So there's a little bit of fear of connecting with yourself because it's like there's been a lot of judgment about you around you. I feel again that it goes back to when you were little. So you don't want to connect with yourself because you don't want to come across what you heard and what you kind of thought, well, maybe it is true, but it's not, so yeah, have the courage to just take that time. And so we can do this in these groups. Um, when you come into this space, like, with at least what I do, of just being present, being with yourself, and that also takes some time. So after we end here, take, even if it's just a minute will seem like an eternity the first time you do it, and kind of stretch it each time, do a little bit longer each time of just sitting with yourself. Because if you're alone also and that doesn't feel good, it's because you're not feeling connected with your spirit, kind of thing. So, and that's being connected with yourself, honestly. So right now, so while we're together, let's right now just kind of coming in, and then you also have you still have a lot of stuff in your heart, so it's a little bit lighter, but you still have a lot. So you're going to have to go through that stuff, but whether it's by yourself or whether you get some clearing work done, whatever you decide to do around that, you can do it by yourself. It might just take you a little longer to get through, or sometimes it's nice to have somebody guiding you and holding the space, but even by yourself, you can do that for you. It just takes a lot more effort, a lot more time, a lot more attention. And then also for you at some point, whether whoever you choose to, it's good to have somebody do a session with somebody, because then it's having somebody hold you in that space, because that's an experience you haven't had, and that will counter what you actually experienced, kind of thing. So that would be good at some point to do that, but just FYI. So, but for right now, I'm getting back to right now, just even put your hand on your chest, feel the heat, feel the warmth of your hand on your chest. Feel your hands moving up and down with the breath against the chest, and even press in a little bit, just like really, not necessarily very hard, but just press in a little bit to feel yourself. Feel your hands on your chest, you and you. Kind of like when we hold a little teddy bear, or a child holding their little teddy bear. They really hold it really tight, just like that. You can just feel that with that, just pressing your hands on that chest. And if you need to cry, just let yourself cry. It's okay. Letting it come through. You've got quite a bit of crying, and it doesn't need to all come out right now. But just there's a lot of sadness that needs to come out there, that just needs to be expressed. So part of the fear also is connected to, like, oh, I'm going to have to go through all this stuff. What's going to happen? Am I going to lose it completely? Just give yourself that space. There's a lot of different things you can do around that, to kind of really, you don't have to release it all at once. And actually, that's not necessarily good. But just release whatever comes. Just allow that to come through and be expressed and be heard. So being heard by you, expressed by that, what we'll call the inner child, but that part of you that was still in there, that very young part of you that's still in there, to be heard by the adult you, by the you that you are now. Yeah, that feels better already. Feels like you've got a little bit more courage now for yourself. So that's good. Yeah, sometimes, we all have those times where it's just that courage is not, just doesn't feel like it's really present for ourselves, and so doing a little bit more. How you doing, Susie? How's that coming along for you now? Let us know if you're still hanging in there, Susie. I was crying before, and I don't want to cry anymore. Yeah, yeah, I can relate to that. I can understand that. Yeah, we kind of go through these things where we just. In fact, I think somebody else on this call was going through that not too long ago. Um, s- yeah, there's a part where I just feel like we're just never going to end up crying, and there's two things with that. One, on one hand, it's like, yeah, sometimes you're crying and you're just kind of going into loop where you're just kind of doing it again and you're not stepping out of the loop. So you're kind of in that loop. LOL. Yeah, Dancing a Bloom. Raise your hand. Yeah, she's been through that recently. And then there's also a different piece to that. Keep crying, where it's like you're going to have to let yourself cry until you get to the bottom of the barrel. So the question is how to recognize one from the other. Pay attention to how that feels. It should feel like there's relief that comes through. Uh, Notice if that when you're crying, if there's a part of you that kind of gets into this crying because you're using it to escape something else. Like you don't want to face something else that's come up. You don't want to deal with something else. So well, I'm just going to go and cry, kind of thing. So pay attention to that, because it could be that you're always kind of going into this loop and you can't get out of this crying piece, or so it's the hamster wheel when it really should be the unwinding loop that takes you deeper and deeper each time. When I cry, I feel like a child. Well, that's because that is the child in you that you are, that is crying. So yeah, let yourself feel like a child, because that is that part of you that's crying, needing to be heard. So that's okay. You know, yeah. I still have resistance to crying. Yeah, Ilaria, you're still trying to hold up and be. You still have that identity of that's and you stop yourself. Yeah, absolutely. So work with that, work through that, whatever comes up. And Ilaria, with you, just let yourself sit with that resistance when it comes up, when you feel like you want to cry, but your resistance. So pay attention to breathe into that resistance. Go into that. What is that? Resisting, what is it exactly that you're resisting? And Susie, dearest Ilaria, let it out. Yes. Yeah. So we'll all get there. Yeah, we'll all get there. So whatever comes up, just be, bottom line with all this stuff that you guys have brought up here, be present with yourself. Notice what's going on and just, so be aware. It's like, oh yeah, okay, I'm feeling that resistance. Yeah, what is that about? Or, I'm feeling like a child. I'm feeling like a stupid little kid. What is that about? Feeling into that. Yeah. That's right, Susie. You are so ahead of me, so to speak. At least you are releasing. Well, so again, just breathe. Thank you, Susie. Just breathe. Yeah, it depends. Sometimes we're ahead, sometimes we're not. So we're all the place we need to be. Just breathe. Yeah, with what comes up. So just and the thing with breathing is just notice that your breath, because it could be holding your breath, which is kind of just like, so you're kind of in that lock in place there. And when we focus on the breath, it kind of gives the mental part something that it's focusing on, and so the awareness picks up what's happening at the periphery, so to speak, if that makes sense. And welcome to Ilaria from Susie. Yeah. Okay, very, very good session today. Thank you all for showing up. Next Wednesday, we'll be back. And, if you, I never remember to say this, but if you can like it, just so other people can find this and be benefited from this too. And maybe join us next time for our live session. So thank you all for showing up. And you feel better, Susie. Feel a little bit lighter. Just you're going to have more to go through. Just FYI, and just keep at it. Just keep showing up for yourself, and you'll get there. Sometimes it takes a long time, and it takes a lot of certain things to fall into place, and sometimes it just takes time. So be patient. I can't tell you how long I've had that message come through from my spirit. It's like patience. Okay. All right. You're amazing, Marianne. Lots of love to you all. Yeah, thank you, Kayla, and all of you. You guys that was a good session today. So take care, and wherever we see each other in the ethers, and next Wednesday, if you decide to show up, or wherever else we connect. So thank you all for showing up, and go give yourselves all a big hug, literally, just, and say you're the best. Tell yourself you are the best. Okay, so here's the thing. Here's what you do. Say your name. So, and then say your best. So I'm going to do it for myself, and you just say the same thing, but you put your name instead. So you just give yourself a big hug and says, Marianne, you're the best. So do that for yourselves. All right. Big hugs to everybody. Thanks for joining in, and we'll see you next Wednesday for another event, coming into being event. And if not, wherever we meet in the ethers.